Hello, my name is Joanna and I'll welcome you to the Johanna Draconis The Deconstruction of CPTSD podcast. In this episode, I will continue to talk about trigger. This time, we go into the final steps of how we can remove them. Step 3 is going down the rabbit hole until we hit the core. And I tell you the word that is key to it all. And you will be disappointed by its simplicity most likely. But the word is why. Similar to our annoying child, you will keep asking yourself why until you hit the right answer. How will you know? You will feel it, or most likely cry. There's a feeling of truth when you speak the correct sentence, because deep down we know the answers. We just have to find them, and or admit them. This step is harder than you might think at first, because you will try to avoid it. Just as you avoid a hurting joint subconsciously, so are you trying to avoid the core. So we need to keep pushing where it hurts, always asking why. So it might not necessarily hurt, but you will avoid it out of fear. The fear about what the answer could be. Some questions we don't ask because we are afraid what the answer will be. Same applies here. Sometimes you will not find an answer immediately. Some answers take hours to days until you wrap your head around it. Especially in the beginning, when you are still weak. Give your brain the time it might need to think about it, or to swallow it. Don't forget, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Some realizations aren't pretty, and you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Only the truth will give you relief. Your truth, not any truth, but the way you truly felt and feel. That's why other people can't help you as you can yourself, if you know how. 2 examples for questioning, so rather short ones. Why am I crying because the lion hugs his razor he hasn't seen in years? It's just so sweet, but why? Because I want to hug someone like that. Who do you want to hug? A dead loved one. Why did I respond so hostile towards that man? He was unfair and rude. Yeah, but why did I respond so strongly? Because I felt threatened? Why? It was in a public place with many people. I have seen it happen before and I know what comes next. Why do I know it? Because I've seen it. But why do I know? Because I was assaulted and he behaved like he did when it happened. The length of the chain may vary, but the important part is to just keep on going. Don't let it go until you go to the core of it. Take a break if needed, but do keep coming back. This may seem rather off, but have you tried speaking out loud? There's a good reason why we don't say some things out loud, because that means we acknowledge them and they become reality. I'm not sure what exactly it is, but the moment we say something, it becomes something else. And by saying it out loud, I don't mean it literally. You can also whisper it. The important thing is that you say it. So how does saying it out loud works in this context? Well, theoretically everyone develops their own strategy, but for now I explain you mine. First, you usually have an area of your usually suspects. In my case, it's a tormentor, my father, my past, the future, my health, etc. You say something out loud along the lines of, I am upset because of my health. And if that is a correct sentence, you will feel it. If not, it will feel false or like you are telling a lie. Once you found the correct main area, you then have to narrow it more down to smaller sub-areas. Like in this example, I am upset because of my healing chances. And so on, until you hit the main spot. Takes a bit of practice, but once you got your routine going, it's really easy. It can also help to narrow down your everyday problems, or what is really behind them. This method is also very helpful in hunting down triggers, but more to that next episode. Step 4 is dealing with a prime target. Now that you found the trigger's core, what now? How do you deal with it? One way is the 5 stages of grieving I talked about in the 3rd episode already. The stages are denial, anger, bargain, depression/sadness, and acceptance. Those 5 steps are for a trigger that can't be changed. May the cause of the trigger lie in something in the far past, or in something forever lost to time. Something we hold on to. That something doesn't have to be something positive. We also hold on to bad things, because we are afraid of what will happen if we let go. Sounds illogical, but the brain prefers a bad known situation to an unknown situation. And who knows what will happen if you let that baggage go. These 5 steps are really helpful in letting things go. But what do you do if something is permanent? Basically, also the 5 steps, similar how people have to learn to accept they are sick or they're handicapped, it also happens via the same steps. I recommend looking for groups with the same symptomatic, as reading how they dealt with it can be helpful. Our brain is able to translate solutions from a similar situation into ours. But really most of the time it is enough to find the prime target and just acknowledge it, if it is not a traumatic experience. But what if something is still ongoing? Then you have 2 options. You either walk away from it or not. Or in other words, either change it or leave the situation. Otherwise you will get more and more depressed because you feel you are stuck. First, let us go into what if you can walk away from it. Are you sure you can walk away? Or at least get some distance? What is binding you? Because social norms and rules don't really count. Family doesn't either, if they are being harmful to you or toxic or anything like that. It doesn't matter if you are related by blood, if those people are toxic toward you and refuse to change. Sometimes a break is good, and what was once broken can be fixed, but only if both parties are willing. You don't owe anyone anything from birth, so ask yourself, what really binds you to something? This includes work, family, overall situation, or simply everything. But you don't have to be radical about it. If you dislike a job every day, then you might want to switch within the company or look for another job. It is incredible what a change in surrounding can do to change your situation. Depression can be caused if you feel like you can't change anything on your situation and just suffer. There's also such a thing called learned helplessness, where the person learned that whatever it wants to do is pointless anyway, as it will fail anyway. So why bother? Often, no matter how bad the situation is, it's the only one we have. What is left of us if we walk away from the situation? I recommend establishing a social circle or security circle outside and then slowly transferring there. And cut ties with people who bring misery in your life. Long term, of course. Your time on this planet is limited, as is your energy. Don't spend it with people who not appreciate you and or don't care about your well-being. Secondly, let us go into what if you can't walk away from it. And I mean really can't walk away from it. Maybe it's your illness that is harming you, maybe something else. As much as you might not be able to change what is happening, you can change your feelings toward it. Everything is a matter of perspective. I am being serious. This is not just a motivational quote you can post on social medias to your contacts, but actually true. Of course, it is not achieved by simply saying, okay, now I just see my problems positively, which is just nonsense. Find the reason why it is really a problem. The method saying out loud and why should prove helpful in this situation. Then I would recommend the same thing as if something is permanent. I might do an own episode on just accepting what can be changed. The new fate, life, health, etc. For me, it meant that I needed to bury my old life, the way I thought and lived. Doesn't mean that everything now is impossible or taboo, what was normal before. There are many ways to get what you want, but it definitely is a change of thinking and living. It will take some time to get used to the new life. It's a process. So take your time and don't be too harsh on yourself. The important part is that you get there. The fifth and final step is what happens after the 4 steps. Because often then remains this uncertain feeling. Is it really gone? How can you know? I would say by trying to trigger it. The best way to check if a trigger is gone is by causing it to trigger. I would recommend careful testing. You can then turn it up. Careful, sometimes something triggers 2 different things. For example, going fishing with your father. The fishing is a trigger and your father too. That is the reason why poking afterwards is so important. First, to make sure it's really dead and to check if there are any additional triggers left there. Saying out loud a few statements can also be helpful to see if it is truly gone or just calmed down. I just want to add in the end that please don't make the mistake that just because you don't have any more symptoms, that you are PTSD free. It is just dormant and, like a sleeper, will become active again over time. And then you're usually older and weaker. It is better to finish it off and be finally free of it. Because as long as there is still something left, it still drains you and will drain more and more over time. I heard so many times people say they got rid of PTSD, but they just beaten it, and it retreated or was dormant. You really need to get it out root and stem. It is very resilient. Also, you can't really restore yourself fully if it is still there. You need to be thorough. Otherwise, it will always come back. I wanted to just update you shortly about my situation. As I mentioned last week, sadly, I am still strongly affected by the move, but things have improved lately. My autism is still murdering me, but less now. Also, since I have to change how I live, things take a bit longer, since I have to figure out a few things regarding my handicaps. I have to change the way I approach and think about my everyday life. Nothing really dramatic, but it's easy to overlook how much is affected by it. It is manageable, but it requires rethinking. Despite all of that, there have been a lot of improvement, and I hope I will be back in full swing soon. And once again, I am sorry for the inconveniences along the way. And that was it for now. Thank you for listening. I hope it answered your questions on how to remove a trigger. Next time we're going into the hunt for the other triggers, which will be loads, most likely. If you have any questions or feedback and the like, please let me know at contactme@johannadraconis.com. More information and transcripts you can find as usually under johannadraconis.com/podcast, and links are in the description. I hope I see you next time. Watch yourselves and have a wonderful time.